Welcome to Football Forecast Weekly, the most popular football program in America, featuring Dennis Tobler, Trip Mitchell, and Fred Wallen. And now, here's your host, Trip Mitchell.
Welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly. Hi, everyone. I'm Trip Mitchell. I've been suspended for 2 weeks, and I was off at Tom Brady's secret spot that he went with Giselle during Deflategate. But Dennis and Fred have lifted my suspension. I'm back and looking forward to this week's show. As always, our expert from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, Dennis Tobler. Dennis, how are you?
I'm fine, man, and it's so great to have you back. It's pretty hard to do a podcast, video or audio podcast, without the best podcast host in the world here to do it. So welcome back, and thank you.
And Fred, I know that you were missing me greatly because my I think I was suspended for throwing out too many bad jokes. So I listened to the show for the last 2 weeks, and it was much more serious and much more intelligent. So if I can lower things down, Fred, how are you?
You know, if I'm a Buccaneer, I'm not happy with Tom Brady taking off a day for Robert Kraft's wedding. 81 years of age, fine. He can get married. He's married a 47-year-old young lady. His wife died a few years ago. I just don't think that normally you're going to let a normal player, an average player, go. And you wonder, Dennis, seriously, if that had something to do with the loss on Sunday. I mean, Brady should be there with everybody else, should he not?
Yeah, he should be. I think he's going to get punished for it. I'm not sure. He's not going to get pay, or I heard something about it, but it's too early. Yeah, I think Brady's lost interest. It's pretty obvious he's lost interest. Maybe it's obvious Rodgers has lost interest.
You know, guys, when I saw him at the wedding, he seemed very happy to be at the wedding. There were a lot of, but in all credit, Kraft is marrying a woman who is she's a physician. So it might be a little different than some of the women he was visiting a couple of years ago, but we won't get into details on that one. But,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, Fred, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Pac-12 weekend last weekend. It was amazing. USC showing that they're back, traveling up to Utah, but Utah going for 2 and winning that game, a must-win for the Utes, and some other great football on the West.
Folks, the number 562 should mean something. This is what it means. USC can score on anybody, and anybody can score on USC. Cameron Rising and the Utah Utes, 562 total yards in that 43-42 victory in front of 53,000 excited fans. And again, I'm not sure that means the Pac-12 is strong or weak or whatever. UCLA is at Oregon this week. We'll find out. In the latest poll, Oregon is 9 and UCLA is 10. Oregon's a 6-point favorite this Saturday on Fox TV. But all I'm trying to say is that Dennis thinks the Pac-12 is strong. I don't think it is. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. But USC is not going to go undefeated. That I guarantee.
Well, and the other big that I want to ask Dennis about, and I know, Fred, you're passionate about college football, but wasn't it great to see Alabama lose during the regular SEC season? I'd love to see that.
Yeah, and I mentioned on the show when you were gone that I believe the West Coast teams are every bit as good as the East Coast teams, and I even said that I didn't think Alabama and Georgia were head and shoulders above everyone like the press seems to think they were. And I cashed out big on Tennessee on the money line. I mean, I think that was a gimme. And I know for sure our producer, Alan Jett, is happy since he's a Tennessee alum. So, yeah, love to see Alabama get beat. Love to see Georgia get beat. Let's throw this playoff system into kilter this year so we can get some new teams in there.
That would be fantastic. And Fred, have you sent your money to the Tennessee athletic program to help pay for?
I was going to mention the fact that, I've got part of the goalpost covered. And I mean, it's like they didn't cure cancer. They beat Alabama. Give me a break. I mean, 15 years, I understand that. Fine, Danny. But people could have gotten killed. People could have gotten hurt. I think we're very lucky. We read all the time about other nations where things like this happen after a soccer game or something, where 9 people die. You say you're running on the field, you're pushing people around, you beat Alabama. Great, fantastic. But use your head too.
Yeah, like go home and like you've won a game before. and
Yeah,
you're
like, come on, give me a break.
My father always said to me, if you score a goal, and he said, pretend like you've done it before. And
Yeah.
I think every father said it is so much cooler to win or score a goal and act like that's what I'm getting paid for. There's no reason to celebrate the guys who flip the bat. But Fred, before we get into our first break, then we're going to come back and do some great handicapping. I want to, I follow you on Facebook, and you've handled the Dodgers' loss in the playoffs really well. I want to commend you on that.
Made me nauseous. Let me tell you something. I'm big into numbers. I mean, numbers have been my thing since the age of 5. My dad liked baseball, and he was a numbers freak himself. So he taught I could do an ERA when I'm 5 years of age. So numbers are important. But the number 5 seems to mean something to Dave Roberts. You know what it means? My pitchers can only go 5 innings. No, they can't. If in the first 2 games they allowed Urias and Kershaw to go 6, perhaps what would have happened in game 4 would not have happened, because maybe things would have changed. And obviously Anderson was pitching well, 70-something pitches. You actually can throw 100 pitches. When Bob Gibson can throw 190 and Marichal could throw 200 and something, we can throw 90 pitches or so, 100 pitches or so. Give me a break. Roberts has got this number 5 in his head. The only question is it Roberts or management, Andrew Friedman, who given him the word, pull the pitcher? If that's the case, we don't have a manager anyways.
Yeah, we've got statistics. Well, we're going to take a break. We've got a manager here, and he's in charge. He's telling me to get to a break. We'll be back. We're going to handicap some games. You're watching Football Forecast Weekly.
Now place your bets. This groundbreaking film details the dramatic rise of legal sports betting in Las Vegas and its growth into a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Through in-depth interviews, personal accounts, and vintage footage, we highlight the key elements and milestones that shaped the sports betting industry into what it is today. This history also dovetails with the changing fortunes of Las Vegas as a gambling town at turns overseen by the elements of organized crime, corporate interests, and the U.S. government. Featured prominently in the film are pioneer odds makers and historians who witnessed these events. Today, betting on sports is a popular pastime and a lifestyle choice for many Americans. Its appeal incorporates the innate drive for competition and the rewards of winning. Watch Now Place Your Bets on Amazon Prime and NowPlaceYourBets.com.
Hi, JJ's back because this is important. Do you know if your Medicare Advantage plan benefits are changing this year? Are your costs and copays going up? Is your doctor still covered? During the annual enrollment period, you can call to find out all the changes to your coverage. Plus, see if you're eligible for a plan with the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
I called to find a plan with lower copays and more dental coverage.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I called to make sure my doctors are still in my plan.
Extra benefits, extra money. Dynamite! AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-249-1374. That's 1-800-249-1374 now.
If you or a loved one developed ovarian cancer after using baby powder or talcum powder products, call now to see if you qualify for financial compensation. A major manufacturer of baby and talcum powder products has been found liable for $4.7 billion in damages because they knowingly sold products containing cancer-causing asbestos. There may be time deadlines, so don't wait. It costs you nothing if you don't win.
Call 800-315-5712.
If you use Tylenol or acetaminophen during your pregnancy and your child was later diagnosed with autism, you may qualify for financial compensation. New scientific research suggests use of the popular painkillers during pregnancy may increase the risk of having a baby with autism. Emerging lawsuits allege that manufacturers of acetaminophen failed to properly warn pregnant women of the potential harm for their unborn children. Call Liberty Legal now to see if you're eligible.
Call 800-860-9148.
And welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly. And, you know, I wish you guys at home could hear us during the breaks. That's where the fun stuff happens. But, you know, the FCC prefers that we don't use language that goes on in Vegas. Let's start with a team that I can't figure out, the Detroit Lions, Cowboys -7. Dennis, we'll start with you.
Well, I'll give you a little help on figuring them out. The Detroit Lions stink. Okay, and they're never going to get any better. And all of the shows they make about them isn't going to make them any better. Their coach is no good. They just plain stink. Dallas almost came back after losing that Monday night or that Sunday night game early in the game by giving up 20 quick points. They almost came back and won or covered. And the Cowboys are 7-point home favorites. Now I'm going to say one thing, and Fred's going to contradict me on this one, but if Cooper Rush plays quarterback, I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys and laying the 7. If the other guy, I can't remember his name, Dak Prescott or something like that, if he comes back and plays, I'm going to take Detroit plus the 7. Okay? So take your pick, people. Find out who's starting. If it's Cooper Rush, I'm taking the boys.
And if you're Jerry Jones and you're paying Prescott $40 million, who do you think is going to start?
I think Prescott's going to start. I do think Prescott is going to start. I really do. And I don't know why he would, since the other guys won 5 straight games up till the Sunday night game. So,
well, Dak Prescott, I mean, he has kept sports radio alive in that part of the country. Will he or won't he? Will he sign? You know, the Cowboys sign him. And Dennis, as usual, you're not a big fan of quarterbacks.
Well, I'm not a fan of Dak Prescott. That's for sure. He's not worth $4 million, not worth $45 million. And if he plays, you watch. He'll screw up the game. You just watch. They won't cover with him.
Okay. And Fred, what are your thoughts on the Cowboys versus the Lions?
I have no thoughts on the games, but as you know, I play fantasy. Dallas has a good defense. However, Josh Reynolds, the former Ram receiver, will catch 5, 6, or 7 passes, touchdown or so. And again, the one advantage the Lions have here, well, 2 advantages. As Dennis indicated, Dallas played its heart out in the loss, and Detroit was off last week. That has to help. It can't hurt. Hard Knocks would agree with me. So I play Josh Reynolds in your fantasy. Goff will hit him a couple of times, maybe for a touchdown or 2. And it should be a better game, I think, that Dennis is talking about, whoever might be the quarterback. And I'm betting on Prescott also because, again, Jerry Jones, money. And the 40 to 45 million that he's paying Prescott is a whole lot more than he's paying Cooper Rush. Okay,
let's get to another game. And this is down in Jacksonville. The Giants, one of the amazing stories this year, travel to Jacksonville -3. Fred, I'm going to start with you.
Well, you got to say right now, they're the biggest surprise in the NFL. I mean, they started off 29th, 30th, 31, or 32 in power ratings. They're 5-1 under Brian DeBall. I see no reason why that won't continue in this circumstance. They got everything going. Obviously, they have the rushing attack back 100%. They're going to score some points, and their defense is top notch. So I'm taking the Giants, and we'll go from there.
Dennis?
I agree with Fred. I mean, the Giants are 5-1. And here's a note for all you bettors out there. The Giants Jets money line parlay has paid 3 weeks in a row. You want to know how much ROI, return on investment, that is? That's huge. So the Jets and the Giants no longer can be scoured at. Look, Jacksonville is not much better than they've always been. The quarterback needs to not make the mistakes. He will make the mistakes. Look, the Giants have a tough defense, and they can run the ball. And they have more than one running back, as a matter of fact. And the quarterback doesn't make any mistakes. That's the biggest thing about the Giants. So running the ball, keeping it out of Jacksonville's hands. Jacksonville's going to fall behind early, I believe, in this game and try to catch up. I'm taking the Giants too. I might even make a money line play on it.
Okay, and let's move to the Colts, and they travel to Tennessee, and Tennessee -3. Dennis?
The past week line coming into this week would have been Tennessee -1.5, but the way the two teams played last week, it opened at Tennessee -3. I think Tennessee's the better team here. Matt Ryan threw 60 times or something last week. 60, some ungodly number he threw, and the other team threw 5 passes, and they came back and they were able to win. Don't think they can win on the road. Think Tennessee can run the ball, keep it away from Ryan, and the 3 points there is a pretty solid number. If I had to take a side, I'd lay the 3.
And Fred?
Soft number, small number. I would agree here with Dennis. Taylor's back most likely for the Colts. I don't think that's going to matter in this case. I think both runners will get 100 yards, 90 yards, something like that. Up till last year in the injuries, you'd say that Henry and Taylor were the 2 best running backs in the National Football League. They still might be, but they've both been injured, as we all know. So I'll take Tennessee minus the short number.
Okay, and real quick, we've got just a minute left, and let's do the Falcons at the Bengals. Bengals -6. Fred?
I think the Bengals have found their way. They found their way in the state of Louisiana last week. I think that will continue. They will score a lot of points. They will cover this one easily.
Okay, and Dennis?
I'm going to go the opposite of Fred on this one. The Falcons come up big time last week and helped everybody cover and beat the books. Cincinnati, they did come back and win, but boy, they do it in the nick of time. I'm not so sure the Falcons defense is that weak. Laying 6 or 7 at home here may be too many. I'm going to take the Falcons again plus the points as I did last week.
Okay, and we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to look at the Browns and the Ravens, but it has been a great season. Some people have made some money, and we hope you have as well. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. It's the Medicare annual enrollment period, and this year it's simple. 1, before the deadline, call the number below. 2, check your zip code for a Medicare Advantage plan with prescriptions, dental care, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. 3, you'll find out what you're eligible for. AEP has a deadline. Call now.
I called to find a plan that covers more of my dental expenses.
I call every year to make sure my doctor is still in my plan.
I called to find a plan with lower copays.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I call every year.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Get what you deserve. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-490-6545. That's 1-800-490-6545 now.
And welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly. Trip Mitchell, Dennis Tobler, Fred Wallen, and Alan spinning the dials back in Tennessee, making us the show looks great this year. We are so happy with everything in that regard. Let's start out Cleveland Browns at the Ravens. The Ravens -6.5. Dennis, your thoughts?
Well, my biggest thought is Ravens coach Harbaugh is not as good a coach as he thinks he is. That's my first thought. Second thought is the Ravens somehow or another cannot play defense in the second half. And that's been a horrible problem for them the entire year. The Browns, on the other hand, can run the ball. This is a divisional game with a lot on the line for both of these teams. I'm going to take the Browns here. I think the Browns can run. Baltimore relies too much on their quarterback, and he doesn't spread out the plays, and he makes dumb plays and dumb calls like going on 4th down. Look, I don't think Harbaugh's a very good coach, and they have underachieved as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to take the Browns +6.
Okay, and Fred.
John Harbaugh believes he's the smartest man in the room.
Yes,
he's not. Andrew Friedman is the smartest man in the room. Oh, The Dodgers, no, just kidding. I agree with Dennis from the point of view that I don't trust this team. I don't trust the coach. I don't trust Lamar Jackson to make the right decision at the right time. And again, when they face tough teams, they're losing. This is going to be a close game. I can't go either way. I mean, I don't have it's too, for me, it's too close to call. Dennis likes the Browns a little bit. I'm going to pass because I want to just too close to call. But you can't trust John Harbaugh. You got to remember last year, he made two key decisions late in the season that cost them dearly, cost them the playoffs. This is a guy who's been a coach for how many years, grew up in a coaching family. I mean, you figure you learn something. I don't think Harbaugh has. You know what? And he doesn't get hit as hard as some of the other coaches who I might hit or Dennis might hit or other people might hit. And I don't know why. He sort of like is beyond that. Well, he's not a very good coach. So I'm going to pass on this one.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep it right here with you. And now the Bucks traveling to Carolina, Tampa Bay -10. Fred?
Well, I hope Brady is in town all week. I hope he doesn't leave the club for another wedding. Right now, if you check the power ratings, who's on the bottom? I think after last week, you got to figure Brady and company will score an awful lot of points. They will cover the spread, and they might score enough. The total might be over too. I mean, they got to be an angry group right now. And again, I think the team might be upset with Brady. And Brady's screaming at his offensive line. People are saying, no, he's screaming at himself. No, he's screaming at others. And but still, they're the overmatch here. They're the much better team. So I'm going with Brady and the Bucks.
Okay, and Dennis.
Well, a lot of people took Tampa Bay on the road last week and were very disappointed. But I tend to agree with Fred that they're going to come back firing this week. And nobody likes the quarterback bitching at everybody. But if the quarterback can produce, well, then let him bitch and get the production done. I think he's going to. Look, the Carolina Panthers are in a bad way. They're going to get rid of McCaffrey. Okay. He's on his way out. He can't stay healthy anyway. They lost their coach last week. They've lost their players. They're playing some mediocre people at wide receivers and everywhere else. They don't have a chance in this one. This could be the blowout of the weekend. I'm pretty sure it will be everybody's survivor pick in the contest. If you had to take anybody, you have to take the Bucks. But like Fred, I hate laying 10. I probably won't bet the game.
Okay. And Fred hates double digits. So Dennis, we're going to stay here with you. And Aaron the Whiner Rodgers and his Packers travel to Washington, and they're -5.5 on the road. Boy, isn't it fun to watch the Packers lose?
It is fun to watch the Packers lose and to watch Aaron Rodgers shake his head like he's the only one doing anything right. You know, I mean, yeah, if you don't catch the ball, it's your fault, not my fault. Anyway, yeah, I love it. The Whiners. They were 6.5-point favorites going into the week. They've dropped to 5.5 now. And Washington is a terrible team. I mean, Washington is absolutely terrible. And they don't have their top-notch quarterback, Wentz, either. He broke his finger. So their first-string quarterback's out in this game. So let's play the under 41.5 for sure for a ton of money, because we know Green Bay can't score and Washington won't be able to score. So this is a 12-9 game. So I'm going to take the Washington team because I'm not going to take the side on this one. I'm going to take the under on this one. But yeah, I love to see Rodgers whine. And I got news for you. Green Bay's not going to get any better during the course of the year.
Fantastic. And Fred, another member of Aaron Rodgers.
Let me just say this. And Dennis and Tripp, please get involved, because I don't know the answer to this. When is the last time that Russell Wilson, Rodgers, and Brady all lost on the same weekend? Now, Wilson's been a decade, Rodgers 15 years, and Brady 20 years. I have not looked it up. I will bet anything it hasn't happened more than once or twice in the last decade since Wilson been playing for Seattle and now Denver. Dennis, you have any thoughts about that?
No, I think for sure you're right about that. No, it's just as weird as the two New York teams winning on the money line. Good luck, bettors. You better pay attention when we toss out some facts to you, and you better pay attention to the fantasy picks so you can make some extra money on the side.
So, Fred, what are your thoughts? Are the Packers -5.5? Which side would you go?
Fantasy wise, I'm going with AJ Dillon, and I think he's going to have a big day. Look, I put Rodgers down because of the vaccination nonsense and his ego nonsense. And I actually thought he was a good host on Jeopardy, actually. But anyways, I think they'll cover here. They can't play this poorly 3 games in a row. I don't believe London can't do this to him. So I think they'll cover here, and he'll find his receivers, the starting company. And so I'm taking the Packers.
Okay, and in a game that we looked at the beginning of the season, and I told you, Fred, that the Jets would go into Denver, and Denver would be the team in trouble, and the Jets would be the team on the ascendancy. You would have thought I was crazy. But as it is, New York travels to Denver, and the Broncos -340 the total. Fred, your thoughts?
You can't wager on this one. I mean, if the Broncos are favored, there's a major problem. Did you watch them on Monday night? In the first quarter, Wilson goes 10 for 10. Then he goes 5 for 18. And I think in total yardage, passing wise, in the second half, it was something like 18 yards for Russell Wilson. I don't know if it's his arm. I don't know if it's head. I know it's Nate Hackett is part of it, a big part of it. I think, look, Denver's horrible. They got the wide receivers. They got a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's not playing, obviously, as a Hall of Famer. But they can't be favored over anybody. So I'm taking the Jets.
Okay, and Fred, or Dennis, excuse me.
In this one here, I agree with Fred on all of that. I mean, except for they have to be favored to the home team against the Jets. I think they're going to come home and probably play a little better. But I want to mention that Russell's quarterback rating for the second half of that game was 3.3. Now 50 is the medium range. It was 3.3, the lowest quarterback rating ever for a half for a quarterback. Now, I don't know who's going to score in this game because Denver's defense is more than awesome. It's tremendous. Okay. And I don't know if the Jets can even score. So this is a tough one. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to take the Broncos and lay the 3.
Okay.
Just because I can't see the Jets winning 4 games in a row.
Okay. And we need to pick up the pace a little bit. My fault. I've enjoyed listening to you guys. Let's do the Texans at the Raiders. Dennis, Raiders -7.
Well, the Raiders are going to blow out the Texans this week. They've had a tough go of it so far, and they just keep getting the bad breaks. Texans are a terrible team. The Las Vegas defense will overrun them. This game will be 35-14, 35-10. Take the Raiders, lay the points, and walk to the bank.
And Fred?
I agree, unless Josh McDaniels opens his mouth.
Hi, folks. It's the Medicare annual enrollment period, and this year it's simple. 1, before the deadline, call the number below. 2, check your zip code for a Medicare Advantage plan with prescriptions, dental care, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. 3, you'll find out what you're eligible for. AEP has a deadline. Call now.
I called to find a plan that covers more of my dental expenses.
I call every year to make sure my doctor is still in my plan.
I called to find a plan with lower copays.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I call every year.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Get what you deserve. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-490-6545. That's 1-800-490-6545 now.
And welcome back to the show. Trip Mitchell, Fred Wallen, Dennis Tobler, the funnest hour of my week, I guarantee you. And let's talk about the Chiefs and the 49ers. And again, I know that, Dennis, you just are so in love with Andy Reid as a coach that you give him 2 to 3 points a game just because of coaching brilliance?
Well, I actually subtract 6 points a game when Andy Reid's coaching because they're 3-point favorites at San Francisco this week, and I don't think they'll win the game. I watched him blow the game against Buffalo the other night, and I can mention, look, I can start in the first quarter and start mentioning mistakes that Andy Reid does in the first, second, third. And when you get to the fourth quarter, it's pretty obvious that he's going to do the wrong thing. So during the whole course of things, Mahomes running around in the backfield like a crazy man trying to get things done. And Andy Reid doesn't have a clue what he's doing. They're 3-point road favorites here. They're going to lose the game straight up. They haven't covered a game hardly all year this year. They go on the road. The 49ers are back home after out on 2 tough road trips. They're going to get some of their players back by this weekend. Their defense is too tough. I'm going to take San Francisco at home plus the points.
Okay, and Fred.
One of the biggest shocks I had last week was the 49ers giving up 28 points. But as Dennis just indicated, 4 guys in their defensive backfield were all out. So we don't know how many of those guys will be back. That will make a definite difference. I'm not anti-Andy Reid or pro-Andy Reid. I am pro Mr. Patrick Mahomes. I think he's better than than Dennis thinks. He doesn't think. I'm not saying he's Josh Allen, but he's pretty close. I would say he's the second best quarterback in the National Football League, which isn't bad. And I think he's also a team type guy, and he's a very smart quarterback. Go back a couple of weeks, and you got Murray going down on the ground a yard short of the first down, costing the Arizona club maybe the victory. He's not going to make a mistake like that. Based on all that, based on 1-4 against the spread recently, again, the 49ers are a fine team. 49ers are going to win 10 games. I think Kansas City just a little bit better, and that's why they're just a 2.5-point favorite. I'm taking Kansas City on the road.
Okay, and we've got 2 more games before the next break, and let's talk real quick about the Seattle and the Chargers. The Chargers minus 6.5.
I think Herbert is, Dennis and I last year had some fun with this. I think Herbert's going to end up a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's still playing, and he's still slightly injured in his belly, abdomen area. There's no question about that. He's not the Herbert of last year yet, but each week he's getting stronger and stronger. They scored one magical touchdown on Monday night, and they win the game. Eckler is certainly running the ball very, very well. It could be that Mike Williams gets looked at more than 3 times in this one. So it'll be a fun game to watch. I'm going the over. I think, again, there'll be a lot of points scored in this one. Herbert might get a lot by himself. So I'm going the over in this encounter.
Okay, and Dennis.
I'll tell you why I like this show so much, because just listening to these conversations, you can have your minds made up and stuff. The Chargers are only 6.5. Geno Smith is playing just as good as Russell did at Seattle, but they're on the road this week. The Chargers are going to need this home win. 6.5 isn't enough points. I agree with Fred. The game's going over. I'm going to take the Chargers and lay the 6.5. However, their coach is one of the worst in the league too. So you never know if he's going to blow it at the last minute or go for a 4th down on the other team's 30 in the first quarter. So that being said, I'm going with the Chargers.
Okay, and in this show, you can watch a lot of NFL shows around the country, and all the analysts are really big coach fans and big quarterback fans. Dennis ain't one of those, Fred.
I'm a football fan, a football team fan.
Okay, and let's talk about I've missed you guys 2 weeks in Europe. The Steelers versus the Dolphins. Miami -7. So we got a couple quarterbacks back. Dennis, let's start with you.
Tua's back for Miami.
Trubisky.
They had to put what was his name? For
Trubisky.
Yeah, Trubisky. They had to put Trubisky in last week, and they pulled off the win against Tampa Bay. So I suspect Trubisky will start this week, but I'm not sure. I don't like the rookie quarterback from Pittsburgh. If he plays, I'm going to play against them every time on the road. I think Trubisky at least has got the experience. Now, Miami with Tua is a big concern for me because I never thought that much of Tua, but he played great those first few weeks until he got hurt. But he's another one that's hurt all the time. Look, Russell Wilson is hurt and taking shots in his lat on his arm. Okay. The Chargers quarterback coach, Herbert, he's hurt too with his strain on his rib. And it's very hard for them to throw the ball. And in Pittsburgh, Trubisky's the best opportunity here. I'm not sure Tua can come back the first week. The line's 7. I can't take Pittsburgh. I'm going to have to take Miami and hope that they can cover the 7.
Okay. And Fred.
Very few teams have wide receivers, top 2 wide receivers, as solid as the Dolphins have. You've got Hill and you've got Waddle. Who's number 1? There isn't a number 2. They're both number 1s. Tua is going to come back. He's going to throw for 300 yards, and they're going to cover the spread.
Okay. And when we come back, we've got the Bears and the Patriots Monday night game. And we'll talk a little bit what we like about Bill Belichick. And we'll be right back.
Now place your bets. This groundbreaking film details the dramatic rise of legal sports betting in Las Vegas and its growth into a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Through in-depth interviews, personal accounts, and vintage footage, we highlight the key elements and milestones that shaped the sports betting industry into what it is today. This history also dovetails with the changing fortunes of Las Vegas as a gambling town at turns overseen by the elements of organized crime, corporate interests, and the U.S. government. Featured prominently in the film are pioneer odds makers and historians who witnessed these events. Today, betting on sports is a popular pastime and a lifestyle choice for many Americans. Its appeal incorporates the innate drive for competition and the rewards of winning. Watch Now Place Your Bets on Amazon Prime and NowPlaceYourBets.com.
Hi, folks. It's the Medicare annual enrollment period, and this year it's simple. 1, before the deadline, call the number below. 2, check your zip code for a Medicare Advantage plan with prescriptions, dental care, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. 3, you'll find out what you're eligible for. AEP has a deadline. Call now.
I called to find a plan that covers more of my dental expenses.
I call every year to make sure my doctor is still in my plan.
I called to find a plan with lower copays.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I call every year.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Get what you deserve. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-490-6545. That's 1-800-490-6545 now.
If you used Tylenol or acetaminophen during your pregnancy and your child was later diagnosed with autism, you may qualify for financial compensation. New scientific research suggests use of the popular painkillers during pregnancy may increase the risk of having a baby with autism. Emerging lawsuits allege that manufacturers of acetaminophen failed to properly warn pregnant women of the potential harm for their unborn children. Call Liberty Legal now to see if you're eligible.
Call 800-860-9148.
If you or a loved one developed ovarian cancer after using baby powder or talcum powder products, call now to see if you qualify for financial compensation. A major manufacturer of baby and talcum powder products has been found liable for $4.7 billion in damages because they knowingly sold products containing cancer-causing asbestos. There may be time deadlines, so don't wait. It costs you nothing if you don't win.
Call 800-315-5712.
Listen up, football fans. For this week's best bets, call us at 1-888-604-6863. That's 1-888-604-6863. Be a winner. 888-604-6863.
And welcome back to the final segment of Football Forecast Weekly. I'm Trip Mitchell up in beautiful Salt Lake City. And that's Dennis Tobler in Vegas, Fred Wallen in LA, and the Bears travel to New England. New England -8 points. And we mentioned that Belichick just passed a winning milestone. So he's now one of the top winningest coaches. Don Shula's out there ahead of him quite a bit, but heck of a team. Dennis, what are your thoughts about Belichick and not a heck of a team, but the New England Patriots?
Well, it's really something that Belichick could take them on the road, and their third team's quarterback, Zappy, could win so handily. It's certainly Belichick's coaching, certainly Belichick's personnel. Certainly it's his team, and he's the very best coach that's probably ever coached in the NFL with his record now. The Chicago Bears are a question mark. They always will be a question mark. I'm going to take the 8 points on the Patriots. It seems like a whole lot of points for a Monday night game with the total languishing around 39. So I'm going to take the Bears, hope something happens here. I don't think the third team quarterback can keep doing it. The Bears defense is a little bit better than last week's opponent. So I'm going to take the Bears plus the 8 here and hold my nose.
And by the way, Dennis, great usage, languishing. I didn't think that word would come up in the show this week. Good job.
Okay.
I'll
try to do it every week.
Okay. And now, Fred, your thoughts on the Bears versus the Patriots?
Bears lost to the Commodores. I should say enough. That should say it all. No, no, as Dennis said, 8 points here is a little bit too high based on the fact that their defense isn't bad. Fields had good moments against the Commodores in that one where they lose. He had some bad moments also. 8 points too many. I'm passing on the game. I'm really impressed with Zappy. It's really interesting because he's making a rookie salary versus Wilson's making a whole lot more. So Jones is making a whole lot more. So I got to pass in this game. It's just too close. And recently the night games have been so close. I think that streak will continue.
Okay. Well, this has been a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for lifting my suspension. I'm back from Europe for the rest of the year and really miss doing the show with you guys. Alan, thanks for everything you do back in Tennessee, putting everything together. For my host, Dennis Tobler, Fred Wallen, I'm Trip Mitchell saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week right here on Football Forecast Weekly.